Well, hello there, internet. I realize that the stream looks a bit dark today. It's because I've blocked all the windows to try and keep the heat out because the weather is quite extreme right now. I am trying not to overheat, so I'm gonna try to lay low and not be too active today. If I get too hot, I'll just stop streaming and lie on the couch and eat ice cream or something. Anyway, first things first, since last stream, I finished the shirt, as you can see by the fact that I'm wearing it. I'll just pop the camera up and show you what I ended up doing. Boop. So I finished the sleeves, as you can see. They're a little bit short, actually. Like when I don't know, can't really see, but it tends to be just a little bit short of my wrist, which is kind of weird because I thought I'd measured it pretty generously, but like, whatever. It looks about what you would expect from something that is absolutely a rectangle. Like, I even went off the rectangle a little bit because like the body was looking like a sack of Regency potatoes, so I took it in a little bit to make it not that stupid, but I don't know. Either way, it's done, and it has a massive collar that I can pop, and it goes up to my face, so that was the whole point of the shirt. And now it's time to make the waistcoat. So let's have a look at the plan. There we go. So, as you can see from the sketch that's sort of in the right-hand side of the screen, it's gonna be red. It's not particularly Darcy. I basically just went to the fabric store and had a look around at what they had. Found a couple of fabrics I liked, but kind of like this one the best. It's a bit more vampire count than you would expect, but that's kind of my aesthetic, so whatever. So it's this lovely, warm, thick, it's got sort of a felt-like texture, but it is woven that I'm going to be making it out of, and then I found this for the lining. So I'm going to try to make a waistcoat out of that. There's a couple of things I need to check for the fit, or actually sort of the, I don't know, the design, I suppose. I'm gonna just share my screen and, I don't know. I know that I want the sort of, let's see. Regency waistcoat. I know that I want the type of waistcoat where the collar just goes straight up. If that makes any sense. Let's see if we've got an example here. This looks, this is almost it. Like here you can see that it's sort of veering off to the neck and then sticking right up. I actually want it to be sort of one smooth line. So you can also see that this would never close down the front. You can also tell by the stripes, by the fact that some of the stripes are cut off here at the edge. So it is something like that-ish. It doesn't go all the way to the point of the shoulder, I'm noticing here, which makes sense for waistcoats because they tend to be a bit more out there. And all those waistcoats have a lot of buttons on them. So that's one of the things that I'm also keeping in mind. I have some buttons that I bought. Let's see. These ones. I'm not sure if that was at all visible. Give me a sec. Oh yeah, that's actually pretty good. I've got, like, do I have 8 of them? Yeah, I've got 8 of them. So that's gonna be my max number of buttons. Oh, you cannot actually see my search results. You're in my wrong screen. You're in my wrong screen! Hold up. We'll just do it here then. So, holy crap. So, as I was saying, waistcoat. This one is what I was pointing at. Oh god. Etsy links, always a risk. So yeah, lots of buttons. I don't have quite this many, but it's close. And I want to do this curved neckline sort of thing with a straight collar. Now, I'm not so sure about the back. And like here we see a seam going from the armhole, sort of like a, what on a women's thing would be called a princess seam. I'm thinking I'm also going to do that, but I'm also willing to do one that starts from the shoulder and just goes straight down. I have to look at a couple more of them to make up my mind on that one. And then I'm also concerned about the back. Do I put, like, you know, waistcoats often have those ribbony things to pull them together at the back? I'm not sure I like that. I would rather just make one that, like, fits. Let's see, what kind of seam lines do we have here? Looks like pretty well none, judging by how the stripes are going. And this does seem to have a ribbon in the back. This is really hard to tell whether there's any seam lines. Here we also have one going to the armhole. I kind of don't like doing princess seams though. This one doesn't have any. Ah, this is actually the neckline that I mean. Where it goes like straight from sort of the edge with the buttons up into the collar. And I'm wanting to make some pockets. I'm not entirely sure where or how that's going to happen, but I'm going to put some of them in. Are there any good pictures of like the back? Any of these? If I just... Does that work? It does. And they all seem to have some kind of strappy thingy to pull them in at the back. Meh. I guess maybe it's intended that if you put on a couple of pounds it will still fit. I don't know. I'd rather just do a straight one. Alright, back to pattern drafting. So, I'm not going to draft it entirely from scratch because I've got sort of a base pattern for my body that I've used on a blouse previously that I'm going to use as a base for this thing. So let's pull it out, and I hope that this is this is the sleeve, which we will not be needing. But I hope you can see on the stream that I've got it's a bit big. Let me just fold everything below the hips under the table. That's actually reasonably visible. So here's the back panel with the shoulder seam and the back like neckline, armhole, and there's a dart here, which I've been messing with because I've been looking at the blouse I made with this, and it seems that because I have kind of a sway back is I think the English word for it, I'm thinking I'll take in the back edge a little bit, so that would become not straight. I'm fine with having a seam down the center back, but I don't know. An alternative is that I take in a bit more here, because I've got extra space here and it needs to come from somewhere. So, but I'm going to try the sway back correction and sort of cut it open here and paste it. But that's after I trace it, because this is my original, I don't want to mess with it. But what I need to do to make it a waistcoat, and this by the way is the front panel, which is a bit less clear on camera. But I need to make the armhole a little bit bigger because it needs to accommodate the sleeve coming out of it. And I need to make it a bit bigger in general. I think I had a check in my pattern drafting instructional materials about like how much extra space they put on waistcoats, and it's like a couple of centimeters. So I'm thinking I'll just extend the entire side seam by 1 centimeter, and that gains me 4 centimeters all the way around the body, which seems reasonable. And then I'll have to draft in like the front closure and the collar and that sort of thing. So I'm going to start by tracing this, and then I'll take it from there to draw the actual design in. Also, I want to do like the pockets. I want to do welt pockets. I've done this sort of with two flaps, one from the top, one from the bottom before, but I kind of want to do one that's like the one big flap. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Hold up. I'll just screen share that. What, is this the right screen? There we go, there. Not the right screen. Alright. So we'll pocket. Sort of like this one, where you get like one flappy flap and your hand goes in the top. So I had to look at a video on how to make those. It seems to make sense. I'm going to try drafting one of those as well. But first, we trace the original. Now, I think I left most of my pattern drafting paper downstairs. So excuse me for a minute, please. Okie dokie. So, tracing and drafting time. See if this is long enough to do. So where do I want it to end anyway? Because right around here is the full hip, but I don't need to go down that far. Actually, the Regency ones are really really short waistcoats from what I've seen. Like, here you can see this ends barely below the waist. Same with these ones. So they seem to be cut quite short generally. I like them to be a bit long, but not too long. So I'm just gonna go barely, I don't know, like maybe this much past the waistline. So, do I have enough paper to trace that? Approximately. This is not great. If I start from the side of the paper, is it better? Yeah, I can do that. It'll just be an approximate length. I'll tape some extra to the bottom if I have to. And in general, I think I'm gonna, when I cut the fabric, just leave a really generous, what is it, seam allowance. So if I change my mind or need to do some small fit alterations, I'll just use that up. So I'm just gonna tape my paper to my other paper. So it doesn't slide around when I trace it. As you can see, I've got a lamp set up underneath my glass table. That makes tracing a lot easier. I got a glass table kind of specifically for that purpose. The other upside is that if you spill glue on it or anything like that, it comes right off. So yeah, glass tables, hooray. So I was saying that I was going to extend the side seam by like 1 centimeter. So let's start by tracing that so I can't actually forget. Let's just take one of these. It's about this much. Hello, Marceau. Welcome to the stream. I'm just tracing my pattern for my waistcoat. How are you doing? Yeah, they are very poofy and like Regency, I suppose. White is not really my color, like it feels weird seeing myself in this. I don't need to copy the markings for where the sleeve goes in. Oh yes, poofy, very poofy. Alright, so that's the side seam. And the armhole. Oh, this I should probably do with a ruler. So, how is the weather with you? I'm melting over here. Okay. Oh yeah. So I've been covering all the windows. I just cut up some sheets and put them on the outside of my windows to try to keep the heat out. And it's been working reasonably well, meaning that inside is a couple of degrees cooler than outside. But when a couple of degrees cooler from 37 degrees Celsius is still pretty damn hot. So I've been slightly disappointed with the weather. But everything else been good. Hello! I've been trying to cool everything at night and then shutting everything down as it starts heating up in the morning, but it's just rough. Let's see, do I need anything else here? I probably need to decide on a length, because right now the length is just defined by where my paper ends. I don't know. So I've got, there's a dart here that I need to adjust as soon as I do that back fix. I'm just gonna tape a little bit of extra paper to the bottom because it is a bit short. You went to, how did you go to 21 yesterday? How, like, I can't even, well, the temperature outside, according to the weather forecast, went to 21 in the middle of the night last night, but I can't cool my place down that much. I just cannot manage. Where are my scissors? Where are my scissors? Oh no, I'll have to tear it. Ice cream? Oh yeah. Whew. I've got at least some ice cold water. And a fan blowing some warm air along my feet, but it's not great. Let's add this to the end. Like, I've been going to sleep at 10 just so I can get up at 5:30 and try to cool my place down as much as I can. Phew, geez, I'm jealous of you. I have a bunch of windows that are just always in the sun, and it's just... I can't. So let's... Alright, I'm gonna choose a fairly arbitrary length for my waistcoat. I'm gonna say, so waistline is here, I'm gonna stop there. I've called it. That seems sufficient. Boop. Now I really need my scissors though. Where are they? If you place a damp towel and ice pack on the fan, oh yeah, that's a good point. I've been doing a lot of laundry so I can hang up the wet clothes and they will cool down the room a little bit, but it also gets really humid, so it's like, eh. Right, I'm gonna get some more ice and my scissors, and I will be back shortly. Alright, so, what other alterations am I going to do to the base pattern? I want the armhole to be a little bit lower, so 2 centimeters seems like a reasonable amount. I don't know. Let's cut it a little further back as well. Because I feel like, you know, waistcoats, they don't sit right on the edge of the shoulder. So I'm also going to take out a little bit over here. Let's call it 1.5 centimeters. Do I have my French curves? Here somewhere. These are all a bit small. Where's the big one? Something like that seems reasonable. That's not actually in frame, is it? So. Alright, so that is my new shoulder, armhole with a bit more space. I'm gonna remember that I took 1.5 out over here and 2 over there, so I can do the same on the front piece. Now let's cut this out and do the sway back direction. Peel this off. I'm going to leave a little bit extra at the bottom just in case I want to change the length. Yeah, that's good. I also will be needing to draft the collar, which is kind of interesting because it goes just about straight up, but it needs to have some kind of curve to go towards, like, go a bit downwards in the front, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to do that exactly. It's not exactly a conventional kind of collar. Okay, so here's the back piece. Now I'm gonna cut into the waistline, which is this one, almost all the way to the end, but leave it held together just a tiny bit. Making sure that my dart is still marked. And I'm gonna take a little, this moves now, and I'm gonna overlap it a little bit to take a little bit out of the back to correct for my posture. Because why correct your posture if you can correct your clothes? Let's take it together. So this creates a center back that's not entirely straight. That's fine if you want to have a seam there. I think I do. I don't mind. You could also make this straight again and then move this extra bit over there. I'll figure out whether I want that later. I don't know. And then I've seen people correcting the grain line in 2 different ways, actually. I feel that if you straighten it back out again, it would make sense to just have this on the grain, especially because you'd be cutting it on the fold. So in that case, this would be the leading half for the grain line. But I've also seen them be like, well, your new waistline is now this line, and it's perpendicular to that line, so it's now going that way, which is slightly that way. Yes, I'm definitely adding a welt pocket. I figured out this morning how to do those again. I'm not sure if I'm going to put a watch in it, but I'm definitely going to. I need at least 1 pocket, maybe 2, so I'm going to go for symmetry. So, grain ideas. I think actually maybe I don't want the center back seam. I maybe want a seam that just goes like this through the dart that's here. So why not? Let's just cut this off. Should have not cut it out yet, I guess. Because now I need to add to this side. Whoops. I need to add about 1 centimeter over here. More taping, whatever. Was this even the... This looks weird. This curve looks like it doesn't even end at the waistline. Is this even the... This is the waistline because the dart was there. But why is this such a weird bump? I think the bump is just my tracing because it's not there on the original. So, oops. I'm gonna just tape an extra piece of paper here and smooth out the bump as I go. Something weird is going on here. These are all, I need a good piece of tape. Alright, so we've just got a waist point that's staying in the same spot, and a hip point that's moving over there, and that needs to be a smooth line-ish. There, that looks reasonable. Let's cut that out. Okay. Now what else? Oh yeah, the dart. I need to put that back in. So I still haven't made up my mind about the grain line. Oh yeah, this is now the grain line because the back is straight again. That's, yeah, whoops. I had made my mind up about the grain line. This needs to go. I wonder if between all the steps I did with doing like the sway back fix here and then moving that over there, I might as well have just drawn a line up there somewhere to shorten the back. I think it's effectively the same. Feels weird, but I think that adds up. Anyway, I need a waistline that is sort of perpendicular to the back edge. There we go. And then the dart goes here. Hey! How's it going? So this dart goes up to here. And wait, was that the old dart point that I messed up with my yeah, this is not entirely straight, but I can deal with that. Let's put this one down to about here. I'm not even gonna... Yeah, I'm gonna see if it helps if I switch off the light underneath the table. Which might be... Not sure if that makes it better. I'm not gonna actually finish the dart here on the bottom because I'm just gonna have it run all the way to the bottom edge. And I'm gonna continue it up to that shoulder dart, I think. Just gonna sort of connect the dots and... make it 2 pieces, I think. Oh, the picture of the end result? Yeah, it is a bit on the bright side. I took a crappy picture of it and had to brighten it up. Not much I can do about it, sorry. It's a red waistcoat. So I'm gonna just add like a centimeter to the bottom. Why is this? Yeah. And I'm gonna get the dart down to there. And you have to sort of make it go a little bit straight at the bottom. Otherwise you get like a pointy bit at the bottom when you stitch it together. Alright. And then we need to add that centimeter. Oh, damn it. Oh, now I need to add this centimeter back in over there. You know, the part where I just cut the edge off. I hate myself. Maybe I'm gonna not do this. Is there another way to do that with that? Yeah. Here's me letting my pattern drafting depend on whether I feel like sticking an additional piece of paper on here. That's okay. I am gonna make it end in a single point here, but I'm gonna make it a little bit straight up from there. I think that is legit. It is my new shirt. It's very poofy. What do you mean by sharpen the end of darts? You mean making them be more pointy so it's smoother when you stop? Yeah, what I mean here, well, this is actually kind of the same thing, where I'm trying to make it not go into a corner over here. This is on the bottom edge, so it's kind of similar. But this is going to be a whole, it's going to split it into 2 pieces, so it's not really going to be a dart. And this is really angular right now, but you can just sort of smooth it out as you cut it. Yep. And oh yeah, this line is currently the bottom edge. I just left a little bit at the bottom. Okay, what can I do? Because what I've ended up doing Yeah, that's what I was doing before. I opened it up by like 1 centimeter here and curved it towards that so that when you connect it, it's straight. But then I didn't feel like moving another 1 centimeter to the hip line because I had already moved more there and I feel like it would get awkward. So instead I just wanted it to end. I didn't want to take anything out, so I put a straight line and then I'm splitting it into the dart. I think that's practically what you mean, right? Yeah, that's normally how I would do it. The centimeter between both parts, but I didn't want to move more to the edge, so. I think you can also get away with doing it as a single straight line up and then split into the dart. So I'm gonna just gut this now. I should probably put some more tape there because this is coming loose. No, no worries. If you have solid advice, I would love to hear it. So that's one panel. All right, that's the back done. Now let's get to the front. Here's my original again. I'm just gonna have to trace that. So let me switch the light back on under the table so I can actually see what I'm doing. Alrighty. I think this paper is a little bit short, so I'm going to tape a little bit extra to the bottom. I'm not sure what it's called. This is the book sewing class gave me. That's the system I'm using. It's probably got a name, but it doesn't actually say. I don't know. I'm also not entirely clear on what the differences between the pattern drafting systems are. And honestly, as long as it looks good, I don't really care. I'm gonna need a bit more at the bottom edge, don't I? Is this enough? I went like this far down on that one. I'll do a bit more just in case. So what kind of school do you do? And can you tell me what the differences are between those two? Because I have like no clue. Alright, cool. I cannot see crap. Hold on. Oh yeah, I gotta move over the side seam to give me some extra space. Let's start with that. I mean, I don't know. I don't think women wore waistcoats in the Regency era to begin with, so you could just sort of do whatever. I'm not planning to put boning in mine because I don't think it's necessary. If it ends up looking really frumpy because of the shirt tucked underneath, I might add it. But I think I'll be okay with how heavy the fabric is. Unless, of course, you know that women did wear waistcoats in the Regency times, and you can link me to sources. Or were the men's waistcoats boned as well? I don't think they were. Oh yeah, no worries. I'm not a historical expert, so there was a good chance that I was wrong. But basically I don't know. I'm trying to make menswear for a woman, so it ends up being not accurate whatever I do. Sorry, what? Let me see what mine says. But can you still, like, I'm still worried. Sorry, I'm still not worried. I'm curious about the difference between the two pattern drafting systems. So here I've got two waistcoat examples in my book, which here they just do a normal dart and then just go straight to the edge. But since I've shortened mine, like mine doesn't even go that long, mine stops like here. So it's basically what they did here, but cut off over there. And compared to this, here they did open it up by 1 centimeter and move it to the side seam, but I didn't want to do it because I'd already added a bunch to the side seam from shortening the back, and it just, this is becoming really, really curvy, and I didn't want to move yet more over there, so I guess I went for a blend between the two. Yeah, I don't really care that much about the historical accuracy, so modern method works for me. But please tell me what the difference is between the drafting systems, because I would love to know. Alright, so the armhole. I took 2 centimeters out of it on the back one. That looks a lot like... Looks a lot like this, I feel. Like the... Obviously they do the back dart over here instead of to the top, but it doesn't really matter. So, I'm happy with that. Like, I have no real reason to think that this won't work, like, that it won't fit or anything, so... And if it does mess up things greatly, then I will have learned. I'm planning to cut pretty generous seam allowances anyway, just in case I need to make any adjustments. Here's my waistline. Oh yeah, so I think I drew this with a princess seam. I don't like princess seams a great deal, even if, I don't know. All the waistcoats I've looked at, even the men's ones, have princess seam-ish seams going into the armhole. So it seems to be the thing to do. But I'm kind of tempted to just have the seam go to the top. I'm not sure. Oh, you can do that. I think that method is called proportional drawing in my class, where you take just a couple measurements and make assumptions about the rest and it turns out alright. I kind of don't get why you would want to do that if you can take the measurements and be more accurate, but I guess it's faster to draw. But that, I don't know. For the number of hours I usually sink into a project, spending an extra half hour pattern drafting is not really a concern for me. So what's the judgment on doing the princess seam or not? Seems like the more appropriate thing to do. Also to not potentially bulk out the shoulder a bunch. But, I don't know. I don't like it. Calculate the shoulder seams? Oh yeah, I'm also doing that. Well, you have to, like, if I'm understanding correctly what you're saying, you start from here, at the top point over here in the neck, and then you know the distance that the shoulder seam should be, including whatever dart you decide to put here, and then you sort of mark that distance there, and then from the waistline you go diagonally up to wherever you cross that line. Yeah, I guess with commissions, if you cannot take the measurements yourself and you have to instruct people on how to take their own, that could potentially be a mess. From the center, you measure the center from the bust. The center of what from the bust? I mean, like where the shoulder point comes out. Alright, that is the original front. Now, I took 2 centimeters down from the armhole and I took 1.5 at the shoulder seam. So let's redraw that armhole. That you determine the shoulder arc from the bust? Do you also take that measurement from the bust? Because I feel like you take the measurement like from the center waist across the shoulder and down to the center back waist. So it makes sense to measure it from there. Let's freehand this bit. All right. That is gone. I've decided not to do the princess seam, even if it would make sense, historically speaking. So I'm just gonna cut it up like this, I think. Let's see how long it needs to be exactly. Where are my back pieces? So this goes here. That adds up. And that puts the bottom edge just right there. And I think I just want to make that straight. Sure. It looks pretty similar to what my base pattern is. I'd have to study the differences later because I just want to keep going with my pattern. So Alright. That should be it. Just as soon as I draw a line to the bottom over there. There we go. Alright, let's cut it into a million tiny pieces. Or maybe just 2 tiny pieces. Or 2 medium-sized pieces. There are a couple of things that I need besides this. One will be that pocket that I intend to put in there. Maybe I won't cut this apart just yet. So if I was a welt pocket, where would I go? I would go probably here somewhere. I don't know. If I'm putting my pocket watch away, probably here somewhere. That's about waistline. And I feel like it would slant a little bit like that. So, like that. So you could put your hand in like that. It probably makes more sense to draw it. It'd be kind of annoying to put it over the dart because it would be not exactly straight. And I don't want to have to compensate for all those little angle thingies. So I think I'm better off just creating a strip of paper that is the correct size and overlaying it onto the piece when it's stitched together. And doing it like that. What would go over the lower part of the dart? A standard pocket, you mean? Yeah, I think I want to put mine a little bit higher because it feels right for that like tiny pocket watch pocket to not be too low. So I would put it here-ish, which I guess is certified as the lower part, but I don't know. I have a feeling it might go there-ish, which I'm not sure you can see, but my waistline is here. It might go, the top of it might go up above the waistline a little bit. Yeah, usually, but I don't want it there, so we're not gonna put it there. And because it's then gonna go over this business, I think I'm just gonna mark it manually later when it's stitched together. Or I'm gonna fold it up together and figure it out or something. Okie dokie. I do still need to draft the welt pocket, and I need some facings as well. For the armholes, I guess it's not entirely necessary. You could just... That'd be nice though, I think. Definitely for... Oh, it might have been nice if I'd left some space on my paper at the center front to do the overlap for the buttons, wouldn't it? Yeah, well played. Okay, so I'm gonna need to tape this down to some paper so I can put the overlap for the buttons over there. Because this is where the real waistcoating happens, I suppose. Because how long have I been sewing and pattern drafting? Oh, I feel like how long gives the wrong impression. Like, if you count it like that, I've been sewing for, I don't know, 15, 16 years. And pattern drafting for, I don't know, 6. But I take it slow, it's a hobby. So, you know, I'm not as good as someone who's doing that for 6 years professionally or anything. Yeah, I think I never really like buying patterns because you put a lot of effort into your garment and then it fits only sort of so-so. So I feel like pattern drafting makes a lot of sense to me. But also I've sort of learned that systems are not holy, and if something works, it works. So I've been kind of rebellious on occasion, I suppose. So, questions. Where does that curved away collar thing start happening? Because the way the collar is drawn right now, it's like right up to my neck. So let's say that it starts to open up about here-ish and then curves away. That seems reasonable. How far away is this from my, like, collar dimple? Where is my tape measure? Oh, so many questions. I don't have it, so I'm just gonna measure it with a piece of paper. So we go from here to there. And that is about 12 centimeters down. So let's see, we put it there, right? And that is where the curve towards, I think you go, like you want it to go smoothly towards the edge of your neck, which is over there somewhere. So let's see if I've got a good curve here somewhere. I don't like this one. This one? How do I even... Something like that seems nice. It even seems a bit weak, but no, I think it's good. And then we have to sort of figure out where it merges into being a collar, which I think is fair to say starts at this point, where it hits the neckline, the original neckline. So I guess I'm gonna be counting this as neckline and this as front and do a collar from here, but it has to sort of merge smoothly. And I'm not sure that that's gonna work, because that's gonna be a really weird angle. I think I need to arrive at this point with a curve coming more from below. So I'm gonna do more like an S shape here, I think. Does that make sense? No, not yet, actually. That's a good point. I should probably give that a little bit of extra space. Actually, I could just sort of continue up there. How does that... I need pictures of what I actually want. So let's switch back to screen sharing mode and find out a picture of the waistcoat I want. Ish. Let's see. Because these have these, this. So here there is a kind of, I kind of wanted to open up a bit more than this one. But here they do have a kind of corner in the front that the collar then continues, but you can see that the corner of the collar is quite pointy. So you can sort of smooth it out and make it be one line. Seeing if there's an example that has a slightly higher collar than that. This one is almost what I want, except it still has this corner here. Actually, I can sort of deal with that corner. So here they've literally just curved it out. I don't know. Does Mr. Darcy actually have the collar that I want? Mr. Darcy? That's really hard to tell. But it seems to sort of, like here you see the last buttonhole. And then it sort of goes into a collar that's somewhere in the back of his, on the back of his head. Here you can see actually a very slight corner. So maybe I'll adopt the corner. This one seems to continue straight down though. Oh no, this also has a slight corner to the edge of the waistcoat. And the results get worse and worse. Alright, let's go back. Those holes are tight at neck and shoulders. Yeah. Good point, I need to probably loosen that a little bit. So, I'm prepared for there to be a slight corner between the collar and the main body. So let's give myself a little bit extra space around the neck and do something like this. And I should probably mesh that at the back. Where's my back? I think that makes sense. Alright, and then I just sort of decide, I think, that the collar will start at this most curvy bit over there. You're forcing steel bones in your crinolin's pocket. It's not a task for this weather. No! No! That is... no, it's not weather to do anything. Honestly, I should be lying on the couch with some ice cream. So if we do this, then the total collar length is... let's get the curvy ruler out. The higher the better? Oh yeah. I deliberately, like, I love this whole, like, ridiculousness of the collars going super high. Like, the shirt I made actually has a collar that goes just about up to my ears. And the ones that I made have, like, I'm not sure you can see this. There's a little corner in the edge of the collar here you can see. It's so that it dips a little bit in the back of the neck so it doesn't go halfway up the back of your head. It's fantastic. You have an answer to what? So, here we have 4.8. Let's make it 5 so it's easier to remember, and it only needs to move a tiny bit for that to be true. Is convenience. And then on the back, what do you mean by attached collar? I'm not sure who is responding to who in the comments anymore. And this is about exactly 9. 9 and 5 is 14 for the collar. All right, do I need to change anything else about this? I don't think so. I think we're there. Oh yeah, haha, the front closure. I am an idiot. Okay, hold on. So, I have buttons and they are this big. What I meant last time, you mean with the collars? I kind of like making fun of it. I don't pretend to be the haughtiest of aristocrats for having a collar up to my ears. So around this button, it would look reasonable if there was at least this much more fabric. Yeah, that looks reasonable. So that would put the overlap at, let's call it 2 centimeters on each side. So the total overlap will be 4, but the extra on each side will be 2. An attached standing up collar? How does that even... You mean by attached, you mean that it's not a separate piece from the main body? Oh, that style. You mean the one that's attached to the front of the body and then wraps around the back? Yeah, that makes sense. But I guess that would be an easy one to make it a smooth curve all the way up to the collar, yeah. That's a good point. That would actually make, yes. I think I got something like that in here somewhere. This sort of thing. That thing. This thing. I could do that. Oh, it's too hot to do this math, though. Ugh. I mean, honestly, I don't blame them. I mean, I like that collar as a really sort of, if you make it almost like a Chinese collar, but differently. But look, this booklet is a bit, you know, these are the kinds of things they want us to draw for practice. Who the heck wears this blouse? Nobody from the 2020s wears this blouse. So, you know, it's, So I feel like the first real button that's actually gonna close. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insult your taste, but it's really not my thing. So the first actual button that could close will be like over here somewhere, probably. Right, because you come in like this from the other side. It goes about there-ish. The first button could be, yeah, just about there. Let's call this a button. No, actually, I think it's worse. Maybe I need to raise this a little bit, because we're gonna get awfully far down with the first button that can close. So maybe it needs to be a little bit more like that. Yeah, for that it makes sense. Victorian is all 19th century, right? Not really. I think it starts somewhere in the... Like, Regency is late 1700s, early 1800s. Let me just check exactly when Queen Victoria ended up on the throne. But yeah, you're close. 1837, strictly speaking, for Victorian. Something like that. I don't know. I kind of feel like this is a good idea. And I suppose when, you know, historical enthusiasts, I guess that's a word, get really antsy about, like, don't just say Victorian, it's nearly 100 years. And they will be really specific about early Victorian, late Victorian, first bustle era, second bustle era, natural form era, whatever. So it's a lot of eras, actually, Victorian. I should probably do this. Just less extreme. Because this is intended to actually fold over, which is not what I want. But I could just take part of this. Like, only the part that would stand up straight. Actually, I don't think it would work. Because this kind of collar attached to the front, it assumes that it sort of smooths up past your neck. And for the amount of collar I want to be adding, I don't think it's gonna fly. Like, it would start sticking out of the front, maybe. I'm gonna try it with a detached collar, and if I don't like it, I'll buy new fabric and try again. Alright. Yeah, there's also been these ebooks floating around of, like, Victorian dressmaking instructional books from the Internet Archive. It's quite neat. I'm gonna make this a bit more curved. I don't know. More like this. Whee! Screw this line. Alright. Now, let's try to draft a collar, because screw that. And I'll figure out the exact number of buttonholes here at some point. That's fine, right? So, attempts at a collar. Step 1. Find a piece of paper that's big enough. I'm not convinced I still have a piece of paper that's big enough. Haha! Step 2. Figure out how collars are done again. I feel like I'm going to end up with something like this, but with way flatter, flatter pointy ends. Seems reasonable. Also, it needs to be really tall. I think the collar on this is something like 12 centimeters tall. And I want the waistcoat to be just marginally shorter. So, let's double check that. Yeah. So, I'm gonna tentatively say 10 is a good height for my collar. And the width was 14. And I need no additional overlap on that, right? No. So here's the center back line. And that's going to be 10? Is that too much? I can always cut stuff off the top if I don't like it. I'll just base it in when I start. This is going to be... This doesn't even... How do you... Well, the only thing I've got left is that this needs to curve up a little bit. Does it actually, though? Because I feel like the front is going to be pulled down a little bit. And maybe, if you just make it exactly straight, it will tilt the whole collar forward and do exactly what I want. That's kind of tempting. Hold up. Because usually they're a bit curved at the bottom, but that's to make them tilt inwards. That's kind of not what I want, so... Yeah, see, here for a wider collar, they're even curving it outwards. I'm just going to leave it exactly straight. Because I want something between that and that. This is going to be interesting as hell. And by interesting, I mean interesting. So whatever I do here needs to be roughly straight, otherwise it will be pointy in the back, and that's not what we want. And this can have any shape I damn well please. Yes! The collar seems very stiff in my design. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna... I don't think I'm gonna put horsehair canvas in. The fabric itself is quite a heavy weight, so I'm not... I think with just its own weight or a little bit of interfacing, it'll be fine, because it'll basically be just bumped up against this anyway. I'm not sure. I'm just gonna try it without horsehair canvas, and if it looks like garbage, maybe I'll pry it off. I don't know. But I'm kind of into the whole like wobbly collars everywhere look, so if it is a little bit floppy, that's okay. As long as it stands approximately up, I'll take it. So apparently this sort of quarter of the circle is my collar now. I I'll be fascinated to see how it turns out. Maybe 10 centimeters tall is a bit ambitious. I don't know. How tall is the... Look, this one is 12, and it goes up to my ears, but not past it. So I've done this 2 centimeters shorter than what I'm currently wearing. So I think I'll be alright. It's kind of the look I'm going for. If I don't like it, I'll cut more off the top. So we're just gonna call it, I'm just gonna mark that this part goes on the neck, because otherwise I'll flip it over and like not figure out what I'm doing. And now I need to worry about my welt pocket. I felt like I kind of knew how that worked, but I couldn't wrap my brain around it this morning, so I looked at a tutorial and they did something really weird. They had like 4 separate pieces. One for the flappy strip that you see when you look at it. One for the little flap that goes behind the first flappy thing and then continues down into the pocket. And then they had 2 separate pocket pieces that got stitched in a straight line to those first 2 pieces, where I don't understand why they couldn't have just been attached from the beginning and be just 2 pieces instead of 4. So I'm gonna just try to draw something to double check that my math adds up. But let's say I make a pocket that is about, I don't know, this big seems like a good size for a pocket watch. 8 centimeters wide. It's a bit small, you can only get your fingers in, but that's kind of what I'm going for anyway. It's going to be a shallow one. So the hole will be 8 by, let's say 2. That seems like a decent kind of size. Nice and chunky. And then, so what you need is the actual pocket bit. Let's just draw it right next to it so I can still follow what I'm doing. I'm not sure if this shows on camera at all. Let me just... I killed the lights. So there will need to be a piece that has enough fabric to do this. It will fold over to make a nice edge, so you will have the same amount sort of at the top. This will be the fold line. You'll have the same amount at the top for it to fold over, and then plus a little bit of seam allowance. But we don't draw those, do we? And then it'll just be a larger piece with a little bit of a pocket, with this being the fold line. I think that just straight up works, right? Well, you'll have the folded over bit. No, you just have to make the folded over bit be facing the front, and then the rest will just be a smooth pocket on the inside. And then for the top, you need a piece that starts here. So here, instead of being a fold line, it'll just be a stitch line, and then it just drops down the exact same way. So I don't see why those people were messing with 4 pieces. I think this works. If I got it wrong and it doesn't, we'll find out when I try to stitch it. So let's make a nice version of this. where the stitch, where the fold line is actually a straight line. There we go. Doop, doop, doop. Let's give myself a little bit of space around it, maybe like 1.5 centimeters. And then make a nice pockety shape. Let's make it symmetrical. I guess one of the reasons you might want to do it out of 4 pieces instead of 2 is so you can use a thinner fabric for most of the pocket. But I feel that this is so small anyway that I don't really care. If it fits a business card or a pocket watch, I'm pretty much good. Alright, and then I'll just cut 1 piece like this and 1 piece without that top strip, and that I think should match up. I am getting really warm, so I think after doing this, like, I'm not gonna get pinning and cutting and standing up and moving. I think I'm just gonna call it a day after finishing this. Oh, I still have to mark my facings. I will do the facings and then I will call it a day and eat ice cream. And this little strip will just be a demo strip to locate the welt pocket on my pattern. I'll do something funny with that, I don't know. Pin it together so I don't lose it. Boop. Okay, facings. Facings, facings. I think I definitely want facings for my armholes and for the neckline and for the front. Well, I think actually that's all the facings you'll ever need. And do I actually want them for the armholes, or do I just line it and understitch it? I'm gonna look at my modern waistcoat and see what they did. H&M or wherever I bought it. Oh, it's not here. Okay, modern waistcoat has... Oh yeah, of course, the bottom edge is a thing as well. That's a good point. This doesn't have facings around the armholes, it does have facing around the entire outer edge. Okay, that seems reasonable. I hadn't even thought about the bottom edge. I guess if I've got a fairly straight bottom edge, I can also just cut some extra and fold it over, but I need to remember to do that. So let's just start with the neckline in the front. That means this does not need facing. This does. This goes away. something like 3 centimeters seems like a reasonable amount. 2.5 maybe. Let's call it 2.5. Alright, that's the back facing. Let's copy that. Alright, and then we put hello there, center front. So I'm going to put a bit more here because you don't want to have to deal with overlapping the edge of the facing with the buttonholes. So we're going to give that 5, 6, something like that. 5, I think is fine. Is this extension not even run? Wow. I taped a bunch of extra paper and I didn't even put it low enough to reach the edge. I think I can just imagine it from here though. I'm such a genius. Alright. Feels kind of phony putting buttonholes in the part that can't even close, but it looks like that's what they did on the originals anyway, so why the hell not, right? While watching, I was wondering if you might happen to have a... Oh, I don't. I started streaming not that long ago, and honestly, I just do it so I sit down and work on things instead of procrastinating all the time. But I appreciate very much that you want to potentially donate or support me. I don't have anything set up, so I guess just keep watching. Keep watching, and if I ever end up setting one up, then you'll know. But thanks for the vote of confidence. This is gonna change slightly still, because once I fold this closed, I'll have to straighten this out a little bit. Heading off to take a nap? Yeah, that seems smart. Cool down a little bit. I'll be out in a sec. Let me just cut this off. I'm gonna just cut these two pieces apart so I can straighten out the shoulder seam definitively before making the facing. Because the thing that happens when you fold this enormous dart shut is that there will be a small dent in the shoulder seam that needs fixing. Aw, thank you so much. Like I said last stream, I'm not really, the main goal for the stream is also just to be vaguely educational. I know I'm not teaching classes, but I'm glad that you learned something. That was one of the goals for what I'm doing. So let's straighten that out. And then I will make the facing. Boop. All right. Facing goes like there. Oh yeah, that seems like a good idea, Baru. Like, I'm basically doing this because A, I stopped procrastinating, B, people are sometimes like, oh, how do you do the thing? And now I can show them how I do the thing. And then everything else is just entertainment value, I suppose. So if you have some stuff, you were thinking of first streaming the designing and sketching of clothing and drawing flat construction drawings in Illustrator. But yeah, I think there might be people who are interested in that. Like, I know I just sort of make a rough sketch and I know in my brain what I want it to be, but I'm pretty sure there are also lots of people who would really benefit from making a proper flat first. Alright, so I think that'll be my facing for the center front. Wait, hold on. I just gave myself 3 centimeters here, while I gave myself 2.5 on the back part. That doesn't connect. That does not connect. Hold up. This needs to be 2.5, more like. And this needs to be 2.5 on that other line instead of this one. Whoopsie whoopsie. Let's try that again. I don't know. Bad. So many curves. There we are. All right. So the pattern has been decided then. Let's cut this out and call it a day. Ah, thanks a bunch. I'm gonna have a look at it. There is also this old-timey pattern drafting book doing the rounds. I forgot the name of it. Let me see if I'm gonna check what you sent me. I'm not sure I actually got anything from you on Discord. Maybe it's still uploading or something. Let's see what I've got in my bookmarks under clothes. The Keystone Jacket and Dress Cutter. Keystone is the word I was looking for. I'm gonna just paste that in the chat. It's basically an old... Oh, sure. Then I'll have to look at that Discord. And this is basically just an old-timey book on pattern drafting. So if you want to make stuff from that kind of period, they got you covered. But honestly, I feel like all pattern drafting is not magical. is basically just a combination of like 3D modeling and origami to make fabric fit a body, and where you place the seams varies a bit with certain periods, but there's no real right and wrong as long as it fits. So, you know, there can only be so much difference between two systems that both work. Anyway, let's lay out what I've got. I've got this little back facing. So, I've got a front panel. I've got, oh, this still needs the dark cut out of it. Hold up. Cut that. I should probably also, I think the lining pieces are just the inverse of the pattern minus, or like the pattern, it's the pattern minus the facings will be the lining pieces. That makes sense. All right. This could use a little bit of smoothing out, but honestly, by the time I've cut it and... Right. This could be a slightly smoother curve. That'll get fixed on the go. Two front pieces. This back piece that I still need to cut to length. This back piece that I still need to cut to length. I'm not sure you can actually see that, so I need to get a camera mount that will allow me to put it higher up so you can see more of my table. So for the time being, I'm going to take you guys off the broomstick that's currently holding you up. And show you what I ended up with at the end of today. Alright, so we've got the center front, which is sort of bent towards the neck. We've got a welt pocket that goes here somewhere, yet to be determined. Second front piece that needs to be a little bit smoothed out over there, but that's fine. Back piece number 1, back piece number 2, and a little facing piece for the back of the neck, and the facing for this part is marked here, but I still need to cut that out as a separate piece. And then we've got the welt pocket piece itself. So that'll be my waistcoat. I'll cut the seam allowances very generously so that if I screwed any of this up, I'll be able to fix it. But honestly, so far it looks pretty good. It looks like something that could become a piece of clothing, so that's good enough for now. Thanks everyone for showing up and keeping me company while I was working on it. So I'm gonna head off now and have some well-deserved ice cream. I hope you're all still hanging in there with the heat. And I will be back next week, same time. Probably by that time I will have cut my pieces and I can probably start sewing on it. Maybe I'll still be tacking the edges or something. But I'll be somewhere along making this and you can see the rest of the construction process. So thanks everyone for keeping me company and take care, and I'll see you next